I just need to do my music anyway. It's fine. Or background music. Hi. 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 Why are you so close? Get back. Get back. There we go. Ow. Ow. Thank you for the head pats, Nikki. Hi, Mickey. Oh, God. What's up, Meeble? Shrooms, Bubbles, Sober. Buns. What's up, Shadow? Hi. How we doing? How we doing? I'm warm. I'm very warm right now. I have a cat that is like glued to my legs right now. Jedi Master. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you for the follow. I hope you're doing good. Hello, Maple. How's the sick ghost feeling today? I am actually feeling better. I'm actually feeling better than I did yesterday. I still feel like Dookie, but slightly less disgusting Dookie. 50 stream streak, Nikki. Holy cow. Bestest late night place in the internet. Oh my god, no you. Ugh, no you, no you, no you. You have a cake glued to your belly? That's adorable. Do I sound normal? I do, like I said, I do actually feel a lot better. Quite a bit better than I did yesterday. Fat pigs, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. You're better now. You have food, a bit tired. I'm glad you have food, Ken. Can confirm. Your streak is gone. Why's your streak gone? You've been here. Oh, thank you, Nikki. I feel like shit, but better than yes, yeah, absolutely. Like I was actually able to like do some chores today. As I felt horrible afterward. Like, you always forget how much time it takes or how much energy you can like really expel when you're, especially if you've been sick for like a few days. Sure, but thank you very much. I was tired yesterday and I fell asleep to you. Oh, well, you don't need to thank. I'm happy you were able to get sleep. That means I did my job. A Metis 50 stream streak as well. Y'all crazy. But with the 15 stream streak, I know I've said it before, but I really like the I like how Twitch integrated the stream streak thingies. Did we doubted the 3 stream streak? Heck yeah. Z the Axolotl, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Takes a bit to update. Click where your channel points out. Okay. Hope surely that's it, because you've been here. Freezing weather is messing with my signal. It keeps killing my internet, so if it disappears, you know why. I hope it doesn't, but totally understand. Oh my god, I understand. Hi, Jarek. I'm feeling a little bit better than I was yesterday. Thank you for asking. To right now, it was almost 40. Oh my goodness. That used to be universal. They're fairly recent-ish, I want to say. Question mark? Over the last like few months, I want to say. The weather's crazy at the moment. The weather's just cold right now for me. Twitch just hates you. Oh no. What's up, Krypton? Welcome in. Cold outside. Last 4 to 6 months. Yeah. Little man Rai. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I hope you're doing good. Absolutely everything is frozen. Dude, I feel you, Nikki. I freaking feel you. It rained here today. And so when I took my dog out this morning, when I say this morning, I kind of mean like more like noon, because I'm sleeping a fuck ton because, you know, sickness. It looked so creepy. It looked so creepy because the, you know, like we had, you know, big ice storm, okay? Ice is still everywhere, and the rain, it was raining. So like the fog, yeah, the fog, the fog, it was so creepy. It was so spooky looking out there. It looked kind of cool actually. But yeah, the rain took care of at least some of the ice. And our temps are they're supposed to be going up. Yeah, Silent Hill, very Silent Hill-esque. Welcome to New England. Is new, but you did used to get bonus channel points for watch. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. In reference to Banshee being sick. Oh. I mean, I could see how you read it like that. Yeah, very Silent Hill vibes. Unfortunate the streak is gone because it did notify me I was gonna. Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. In the rain, it was raining. I know, I'm so eloquent. Oopsie. But yeah. That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. It'll stop me from watching. I'd hope not. Yeah. We're shutting New England if... Oh, cool. I didn't know that. It's been a while since I've watched it. Well, I watched the first one. I did watch the second one, which, you know, of course was kind of blah compared to the first one. And of course I haven't played any of the games because, you know, it's me. I live under a rock or whatever. EKM, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. I mean the games. Well, look, I was getting to the games, okay? Guarantee it won't. I like this community too much. Of course, I enjoy watching your streams. I love this community. Isn't it? It's good stuff. Probably a cozy rock. It's probably one of those rocks that like that you could weren't there rocks at something like weren't there like rock pets or something? Like the as seen on TV kind of weird shit that would like grow grass or something like that. I don't know if I'm making that up in my head. Pet rock. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Your dad had a pet rock. Yeah, chia. We're a fad in the 90s. That's crazy. That's crazy. Series was inspired by a town in Pennsylvania. Interesting. Centralia. Okay, cool. That's interesting. Yeah, we're gonna, I know it's been a few weeks because I think we had a collab one week, and then last week was the ice storm. But we are going to, excuse me, we're gonna attempt to read some more Turn of the Screw. I do believe that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to, at least. What are you doing, little guy? Are you comfy? I just felt a paw on my leg. He's so comfy right now. It's really cute. But yeah, I still have this cough drop on my mouth too. Turn of the Screw with guest star Tristan. Yeah. Well, my cat, he's laying on a blanket that's like at my legs slash feet. And he's very happy that there's a blanket. First game was set in Maine. Oh. By Vincent PA. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for the lurk, Bobo. But yes. Everyone get cozy, get nice and comfy, or throw me on your side screen so that you can play your games or do whatever. Have a good evening, chat. Ow! Oh shit, I need to fix my... Let me fix the thingy first. Full screening me? Oh my. I'm honored. Well, I cough right in your ear. Today was so odd. My town had rain for the first time in like a couple of months. Wow. That had the underground coal fire. That was it, right? Right? Let me fix my let me fix redeems first, because I know I have all of them still checked right now, I believe. And they should not be. I don't want there to be any confusion. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. So I wouldn't be surprised if I passed out to story time. I haven't been sleeping great the last week or so. Oh, I'm sorry you haven't been sleeping great. In that case, I do really hope you are able to fall asleep. There we go. That is fixed. But yeah, last time, way too much Banshee. That's rude. Have you muted and on a different virtual desktop? Taking tomorrow off to just sleep all day? Heck yeah. Enjoying the voice? Thank you, Nick. The good eeps if you can. It's a compliment to the very soothing. It is, honestly. It's a super duper big compliment. Hi, Aggie. Watching the redeems vanish in real time as I'm trying to hit one is like playing whack-a-mole on XP. I can never remember the name of it. But yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've done any reading. Just due to scheduling and circumstances, and I'm a clown. Prepare for your screen to get licked. Here we go. I deeply apologize. Wow. I do it every single time. There's ew cuties every single time. Every time now. Every time. So I know we're on chapter 18. Last time that we read, I think the very last chapter that we read, we discovered that Miles, who's one of the kids that she watches, that the main character watches and, you know, is like a nanny for or whatever. I'm dying, excuse me. He's possessed. He's possessed by that dude from the past, whose name I can't remember. No, I can't remember his name. But yeah. And it was a little confusing, but like a little creepy too. So yeah. Anyway. Let's get into it, shall we? And Coon, if you could put the book, if you could make a little pinned little note to let people know that we're reading Turn of the Screw. And I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Give me one moment. Oh my goodness. Withered Silver, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing super good today. Let's see how many people actually notice it. I hope, I mean, at least we have it covered. All right. Blah, blah, blah. So, like I was saying, get nice and cozy, do your thing, and we're gonna start reading, okay? Welcome in uncrowned. Story time. Thank you for the lick, super. Thank you for the lick, Connor. The next day, after lessons, Mrs. Gross found a moment to say to me quietly, "Have you written, miss?" And remember, Mrs. Gross is the other one of the other people that works there for this family. "Yes, I've written, but I didn't add, for the hour, that my letter, sealed and directed, was still in my pocket. There would be time enough to send it before the messenger should go to the village. Meanwhile, there had been, on the part of my pupils, no more brilliant, more exemplary morning. It was exactly as if they had both had at heart to gloss over any recent little friction. They performed the dizziest feats of arithmetic, soaring quite out of my feeble range, and perpetrated, in higher spirits than ever, geographical and historical jokes. It was conspicuous, of course, in Miles in particular, that he appeared to wish to show how easily he could let me down. This child, to my memory, really lives in a setting of beauty and misery that no words can translate. There was a distinction all his own in every impulse he revealed. Never was a small natural creature, to the uninitiated eye all frankness and freedom, a more ingenious, a more extraordinary little gentleman. I had perpetually to guard against the wonder of contemplation into which my initiated view betrayed me, to check the irrelevant gaze and discouraged sigh in which I constantly both attacked and renounced the enigma of what such a little gentleman could have done that deserved a penalty. Say that, by the dark prodigy I knew, the imagination of all evil had been opened up to him. All the justice within me ached for the proof that it could ever have flowered into an act. Can surf baby and X30 blah 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 X3R067. Thank you so much for the follows. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're both doing good. Hey little beast man. Excuse me. He had never, at any rate, been such a little gentleman as when, after our early dinner on this dreadful day, he came round to me and asked if I shouldn't like him for half an hour to play to me. David playing to Saul could never have shown a finer sense of the occasion. It was literally a charming exhibition of tact, of magnanimity, and quite tantamount to his saying outright, "The true knights we love to read about never push an advantage too far. I know what you mean now. You mean that to be let alone yourself and not followed up, you'll cease to worry and spy upon me, won't keep me so close to you, will let me go and come. Well, I come, you see, but I don't go. There'll be plenty of time for that. I do really delight in your society, and I only want to show you that I contended for a principle." It may be imagined whether I resisted this appeal or failed to accompany him again, hand in hand to the schoolroom. He sat down at the old piano and played as he had never played. And if there are those who think he had better have been kicking a football, I can only say that I wholly agree with them. For at the end of a time that, under his influence, I had quite ceased to measure, I started up with a strange sense of having literally slept at my post. It was after luncheon, and by the schoolroom fire, and yet I hadn't really, in the least, slept. I had only done something much worse. I had forgotten. Where, all this time, was Flora? When I put the question to Miles, he played on a minute before answering and then could only say, "Why, my dear, how do I know?" Breaking moreover into a happy laugh, which, immediately after, as if it were a vocal accompaniment, he prolonged into incoherent, extravagant song. Oh, that's creepy. That's creepy. I went straight to my room, but his sister was not there. Then, before going downstairs, I looked into several others. As she was nowhere about, she would surely be with Mrs. Gross, whom, in the comfort of that theory, I accordingly proceeded in quest of. I found her where I had found her the evening before, but she met my quick challenge with blank, scared ignorance. She had only supposed that, after the repast, I had carried off both the children, as to which she was quite in her right, for it was the very first time I had allowed the little girl out of my sight without some special provision. Of course now, indeed, she might be with the maids, so that the immediate thing was to look for her without an air of alarm. This we promptly arranged between us, but when, 10 minutes later, and in pursuance of our arrangement, we met in the hall, it was only to report on either side that, after guarded inquiries, we had altogether failed to trace her. For a minute there, apart from observation, we exchanged mute alarms, and I could feel with what high interest my friend returned me all those I had from the first given her. "She'll be above," she presently said, "in one of the rooms you haven't searched." "No, she's at a distance. I had made up my mind. She has gone out." Mrs. Gross stared. "Without a hat?" I naturally also looked volumes. "Isn't that woman always without one?" "She's with her?" "She's with her," I declared. "We must find them." And they're referring to the other, like, spirit, ghost, whatever, the woman. Because remember the, I think it's Quint, right? Quint was yeah, Quint. He's the one that's, like, taken over Miles, off and on, I guess, possessed him. And then, we've seen Flora's, like, communicated with, I can't remember her name because it's been a minute, but she's communicated with the female spirit ghost. My hand was on my friend's arm, but she failed for the moment, confronted with such an account of the matter, to respond to my presence. She communed, on the contrary, on the spot, with her uneasiness. "And where's Master Miles?" "Oh, he's with Quint. They're in the schoolroom." "Lord, miss." My view, I was myself aware, and therefore I suppose my tone, had never yet reached so calm an assurance. The trick's played, I went on. They've successfully worked their plan. He found the most divine little way to keep me quiet while she went off. Divine? Mrs. Gross bewilderedly echoed. Infernal, then, I almost cheerfully rejoined. He has provided for himself as well. But come. She had helplessly gloomed at the upper regions. You leave him. So long with Quint? Yes. I don't mind that now. She always ended at these moments by getting possession of my hand, and in this manner she could at present still stay me. But after gasping an instant at my sudden resignation, because of your letter, she eagerly brought out. I quickly, by way of answer, felt for my letter, drew it forth, held it up, and then, freeing myself, went and laid it on the great hall table. Luke will take it, I said as I came back. I reached the house door and opened it. I was already on the steps. My companion still demurred. The storm of the night and the early morning had dropped, but the afternoon was damp and gray. I came down to the drive while she stood in the doorway. You go with nothing on? What do I care when the child has nothing? I can't wait to dress, I cried. And if you must do so, I leave you. Try, meanwhile, yourself upstairs. With them? Oh, on this, the poor woman promptly joined me. Isn't he Banshee? Okay. Hi, Soggy. Why you bonk me? This little dude is passed out. Chapter 19. We might actually finish this tonight. We went straight to the lake, as it was called at Bly, and I dare say rightly called, though I reflect that it may in fact have been a sheet of water less remarkable than it appeared to my untraveled eyes. My acquaintance with sheets of water was small, and the pool of Bly, at all events on the few occasions of my consenting, under the protection of my pupils, to affront its surface in the old flat-bottomed boat moored there for our use, had impressed me both with its extent and its agitation. The usual place of embarkation was half a mile from the house, but I had an intimate conviction that, wherever Flora might be, she was not near home. She had not given me the slip for any small adventure, and since the day of the very great one that I had shared with her by the pond, I had been aware, in our walks, of the quarter to which she most inclined. This was why I had now given to Mrs. Gross's steps so marked a direction that made her, when she perceived it, oppose a resistance that showed me she was freshly mystified. You're going to the water, miss? You think she's in? She may be, though the depth is, I believe, nowhere very great. But what I judge most likely is that she's on the spot from which, the other day, we saw together what I told you. Are we still making fun of her? No. I'm good, Saki. I'm good. Excuse me. Just digging into story time. Hmm. Uh, excuse me. When she pretended not to see with that astounding self-possession, I've always been sure she wanted to go back alone. And now her brother has managed it for her. Mrs. Gross still stood where she had stopped. You suppose they really talk of them? I could meet this with a confidence. They say things that, if we heard them, would simply appall us. And if she is there, yes, then Miss Jessel is beyond a doubt. You shall see. Jessel, that's right, okay. Oh, thank you, my friend cried, planted so firm that, taking it in, I went straight on without her. By the time I reached the pool, however, she was close behind me, and I knew that, whatever, to her apprehension, might befall me, the exposure of my society struck her as her least danger. She exhaled a moan of relief as we at last came in sight of the greater part of the water, without a sight of the child. There was no trace of Flora on that nearer side of the bank where my observation of her had been most startling, and none on the opposite edge where, save for a margin of some 20 yards, a thick copse came down to the water. The pond, oblong in shape, had a width so scant compared to its length that, with its ends out of view, it might have been taken from a scant river. We looked at the empty expanse, and then I felt the suggestion of my friend's eyes. I knew what she meant, and I replied with a negative headshake. No, wait. She has taken the boat. My companion stared at the vacant mooring place and then again across the lake. Then where is it? Our not seeing it is the strongest of proofs. She has used it to go over, and then has managed to hide it. All alone? That child? She's not alone. And at such times, she's not a child. She's an old woman. I scanned all the visible shore while Mrs. Gross took again into the queer element I offered her, one of her plunges of submission. Then I pointed out that the boat might perfectly be in a small refuge formed by one of the recesses of the pool, an indentation mast for the hither side by a projection of the bank and by a clump of trees growing close to the water. Hi, Slayer. The clicker challenge. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, you know, that's kind of like I get that, but you know, that's kind of a part of why did my phone just flash? Stop it. Stop it, you. It's kind of the point. I will not contribute. It's kind of the point though to make chat as a whole, you know, work for it. Mm. Try to stretch my legs with this cat taking over the seat. Okay. But if the boat's there, where on earth's she? my colleague anxiously asked. That's exactly what we must learn. And I started to walk further. Am I going all the way around? Certainly, far as it is. It will take us but 10 minutes, but it's far enough to have made the child prefer not to walk. She went straight over. Kazuto, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. Hello, Tonic. Love your model. It looks great and gives such cozy vibes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Who was a monster that contributed only 2 points? A legend. One said that it's making good. Yeah, exactly. Tonica, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good too. Excuse me. That's so funny though. It was a monster that donated 2 points. Hey, Civic. Laws, cried my friend again. The chain of my logic was ever too much for her. It dragged her at my heels even now. And when we had got halfway around, a devious, tiresome process, on ground much broken and by a path choked with overgrowth, I paused to give her breath. I sustained her with a grateful arm, assuring her that she might hugely help me. And this started us afresh, so that in the course of but few minutes more, we reached a point from which we found the boat to be where I had supposed it. It had been intentionally left as much as possible out of sight and was tied to one of the stakes of a fence that came just there, down to the brink, and that had been an assistance to disembarking. I recognized, as I looked at the pair of short, thick oars, quite safely drawn up, the prodigious character of the feet for a little girl. But I had lived by this time too long among wonders and had panted to too many livelier measures. There was a gate in the fence, through which we passed, and that brought us, after a trifling interval, more into the open. Then, there she is, we both exclaimed at once. Hit Manic with a 25 stream streak. Heck yeah, let's heckin' go. Thank you so much for the hydrate. I could use. And the stretch. Hi, Civic. Flora, excuse me. Flora, a short way off, stood before us on the grass and smiled as if her performance was now complete. The next thing she did, however, was to stoop straight down and pluck, quite as if it were all she was there for, a big, ugly spray of withered fern. I instantly became sure she had just come out of the copse. Copse? What is that word? Let's look that up real quick, actually, because it's come up twice now. A small group of trees. Copse. So what is copse? Okay. It's gonna bother me. All right. Civic with the 5 stream streak. Trying to catch me right dirty. She waited for us, not herself taking a step, and I was conscious of the rare solemnity with which we presently approached her. She smiled and smiled, and we met, but it was all done in a silence by this time, flagrantly ominous. Mrs. Gross was the first to break the spell. She threw herself on her knees and, drawing the child to her breast, clasped in a long embrace the little tender, yielding body. While this dumb convulsion lasted, I could only watch it, which I did the more intently when I saw Flora's face peep at me over our companion's shoulder. It was serious now. The flicker had left it, but it strengthened the pang with which I, at that moment, envied Mrs. Gross the simplicity of her relation. Still, all this while, nothing more passed between us save that Flora had let her foolish fern again drop to the ground. What she and I had virtually said to each other was that pretexts were useless now. When Mrs. Gross finally got up, she kept the child's hand so that the two were still before me, and the singular reticence of our communion was even more marked in the frank look she launched me. "I'll be hanged," it said, "if I'll speak." It was Flora who, gazing all over me in candid wonder, was the first. She was struck with our bareheaded aspect. "Why, where are your things?" "Where yours are, my dear," I promptly returned. She had already got back her gaiety, and appeared to take this as an answer quite sufficient. "And where's Miles?" she went on. There was something in the small valor of it that quite finished me. These 3 words from her were, in a flash like the glitter of a drawn blade, the jostle of the cup that my hand, for weeks and weeks, had held high and full to the brim, that now, even before speaking, I felt overflow in a deluge. "I'll tell you if you'll tell me," I heard myself say, then heard the tremor in which it broke. "Well, what?" Mrs. Gross's suspense blazed at me, but it was too late now, and I brought the thing out handsomely. "Where, my pet, is Miss Jessel?" Chapter 20. Oh, excuse me. Trying to not burp tea in your ear. Oh my god, okay. Chapter 20, as I was saying. Just as in the churchyard with Miles, the whole thing was upon us. Much as I had made of the fact that this name had never once, between us, been sounded, the quick, smitten glare with which the child's face now received it fairly likened my breach of the silence to the smash of a pane of glass. It added to the interposing cry, as if to stay the blow, that Mrs. Gross, at the same instant, uttered over my violence, the shriek of a creature scared, or rather wounded, which, in turn, within a few seconds, was completed by a gasp of my own. I seized my colleague's arm. "She's there! She's there!" Ugh, so creepy. POV trying to loud burp in your ear. I try not to. Just rub my eyes. Okay. Miss Jessel stood before us on the opposite bank exactly as she had stood the other time. And I remember, strangely, as the first feeling now produced in me, my thrill of joy at having brought on a proof. She was there, and I was justified. She was there, and I was neither cruel nor mad. She was there for poor scared Mrs. Gross, but she was there most for Flora. And no moment of my monstrous time was perhaps so extraordinary as that in which I consciously threw out to her, with the sense that, pale and ravenous demon as she was, she would catch and understand it, an inarticulate message of gratitude. She rose erect on the spot my friend and I had lately quitted, and there was not, in all the long reach of her desire, an inch of her evil that fell short. This first vividness of vision and emotion were things of a few seconds, during which Mrs. Gross's dazed blink across to where I pointed struck me as a sovereign sign that she too at last saw, just as it carried my own eyes precipitately to the child. The revelation then of the manner in which Flora was affected startled me, in truth, far more than it would have done to find her also merely agitated. For direct dismay was of course not what I had expected. Prepared and on her guard as our pursuit had actually made her, she would repress every betrayal, and I was therefore shaken on the spot by my first glimpse of the particular one for which I had not allowed. To see her, without a convulsion of her small pink face, not even feign to glance in the direction of the prodigy I announced, but only, instead of that, turn at me an expression of hard, still gravity, an expression absolutely new and unprecedented, and that appeared to read and accuse and judge me. This was a stroke that somehow converted the little girl herself into the very presence that could make me quail. I quailed even though my certitude that she thoroughly saw was never greater than at that instant. And in the immediate need to defend myself, I called it passionately to witness. She's there, you little unhappy thing. There, 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 and you see her as well as you see me. I had said shortly before to Mrs. Gross that she was not at these times a child, but an old woman, an old woman, and that description of her could not have been more strikingly confirmed than in the way in which, for all answer to this, she simply showed me, without a concession, an admission of her eyes, a countenance of deeper and deeper, of, indeed, suddenly quite fixed reprobation. I was, by this time, if I can put the whole thing at all together, more appalled at what I may have properly called her manner than at anything else. Though it was simultaneously with this that I became aware of having Mrs. Gross also, and very formidably to reckon with. My elder companion, the next moment at any rate, blotted out everything but her own flushed face and her loud, shocked protest, a burst of high disapproval. "What a dreadful turn, to be sure, miss! Where on earth do you see anything?" Sound better today? I do feel better. I do feel a bit better today than I did yesterday. I do. Thank you. after touching jalapeno, there's oh my god. I would never. I wouldn't mean to, at least. The Giver? I don't think I have. I don't think I've heard of that. Talk about that book. It doesn't sound familiar to me. I'm not having a stroke while I'm trying to read the book. Oh. I could only grasp her more quickly yet, for even while she spoke, the hideous plain presence stood undimmed and undaunted. It had already lasted a minute, and it lasted while I continued, seizing my colleague, quite thrusting her at it and presenting her to it, to insist with my pointing hand. You don't see her exactly as we see? You mean to say you don't now? Now? She's as big as a blazing fire. Only look, dearest woman, look. She looked even as I did, and gave me, with her deep groan of negation, repulsion, compassion, the mixture with her pity of her, relief at her exemption, a sense, touching to me even then, that she would have backed me up, if she could. I might well have needed that, for with this hard blow of the proof that her eyes were hopelessly sealed, I felt my own situation horribly crumble. I saw my livid predecessor press from her position on my defeat, and I was conscious, more than all, of what I should have from this instant to deal with in the astounding little attitude of Flora. Into this attitude Mrs. Gross immediately and violently entered, breaking, even while there pierced through my sense of ruin a prodigious private triumph, into breathless reassurance. She isn't there, little lady, and nobody's there, and you never see nothing, my sweet. How can poor Miss Jessel, when poor Miss Jessel's dead and buried? We know, don't we, love? And she appealed, blundering into the child. It's all a mere mistake and a worry and a joke, and we'll go home as fast as we can. Our companion on this had responded with a strange, quick primness of propriety, and they were again, with Mrs. Gross on her feet, united, as it were, in pained opposition to me. Flora continued to fix me with her small mask of reprobation, and even at that minute I prayed God to forgive me for seeming to see that, as she stood there holding tight to our friend's dress, her incomparable childish beauty had suddenly failed, had quite vanished. I've said it already. She was hideously hard. She had turned common and almost ugly. I don't know what you mean. I see nobody. I see nothing. I never have. I think you're cruel, and I don't like you. Then, after this deliverance, which might have been that of a vulgarly pert little girl in the street, she hugged Mrs. Gross more closely and buried in her skirts the dreadful little face. In this position, she produced an almost furious wail. Take me away, take me away, oh, take me away from her. From me? I panted. From you, she cried. Cosmic Carnage and Jammy, thank you so much for the follows. I hope you're both doing really good. Hi, Comrade. And the rest of chat are doing well. I'm doing good, thank you. It's required reading for you. Hey, Jimmy. Okay, let's see. Even Mrs. Gross looked across at me dismayed, while I had nothing to do but communicate again with the figure that, on the opposite bank, without a movement, as rigidly still as if catching, beyond the interval, our voices, was as vividly there for my disaster as it was not there for my service. The wretched child had spoken exactly as if she had got from some outside source each of her stabbing little words, and I could therefore, in the full despair of all I had to accept, but sadly shake my head at her. If I had ever doubted, all my doubt would at present have gone. I've been living with the miserable truth, and now it has only too much closed round me. Of course I've lost you. I've interfered, and you've seen, under her direction, under her dictation, with which I faced over the pool again our infernal witness, which is the actual ghost. She's saying that the ghost that Miss Jessel is feeding the child things to say specifically. The easy and perfect way to meet it. I've done my best, but I've lost you. Goodbye. For Mrs. Gross, I had an imperative and almost frantic, go, go, before which, in infinite distress, but mutely possessed of the little girl and clearly convinced, in spite of her blindness, that something awful had occurred and some collapse engulfed us, she retreated by the way we had come as fast as she could move. Of what first happened when I was left alone, I had no subsequent memory. I only knew that at the end of, I suppose, a quarter of an hour, an odorous dampness and roughness, chilling and piercing my trouble, had made me understand that I must have thrown myself on my face on the ground and given way to a wildness of grief. I must have lain there long and cried and sobbed, for when I raised my head the day was almost done. I got up and looked a moment through the twilight at the gray pool and its blank, haunted edge, and then I took back to the house my dreary and difficult course. When I reached the gate and the fence, the boat, to my surprise, was gone, so that I had a fresh reflection to make on Flora's extraordinary command of the situation. She passed that night by the most tacit, and I should add, were not the word so grotesque a false note, the happiest of arrangements with Mrs. Gross. I saw neither of them on my return, but, on the other hand, as by an ambiguous compensation, I saw a great deal of Miles. I saw, I can use no other phrase, so much of him that it was as if it were more than it had ever been. No evening I had passed at Bly had the portentous quality of this one, in spite of which, and in spite also of the deeper depths of consternation that had opened beneath my feet, there was literally in the ebbing actual an extraordinarily sweet sadness. On reaching the house, I had never so much as looked for the boy. I had simply gone straight to my room to change what I was wearing and to take in, at a glance, much material testimony to Flora's rupture. Her little belongings had all been removed. When later, by the schoolroom fire, I was served with tea by the usual maid, I indulged on the article of my other pupil in no inquiry whatever. He had his freedom now. He might have it to the end. Well, he did have it, and it consisted, in part at least, of his coming in at about 8 o'clock and sitting down with me in silence. On the removal of the tea, things I had blown out the candles and drawn my chair closer, I was conscious of a mortal coldness and felt as if I should never again be warm. So, when he appeared, I was sitting in the glow with my thoughts. He paused a moment by the door as if to look at me, then, as if to share them, came to the other side of the hearth and sank into a chair. We sat there in absolute stillness, yet he wanted, I felt, to be with me. Oh. Bladen, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you for the follow. I hope you're doing good. While I was falling asleep until my kid drop kicked. Oh my god. Drop kicked you in the throat. Oh my goodness. That's a hell of a wake up. It sounds like when a cat will like just either sit on my face or like launch itself on my face and I'm suddenly awake. And suddenly there is cat butthole right in my face. Like a drop kick though, that's worse. I'll take cat butthole any day. Oh, out of context, that's not nice either. Okay. Tasty, yeah. Oh, goodness. Chapter 21. Before a new day in my room had fully broken, my eyes opened to Mrs. Gross, who had come to my bedside with worse news. And your cat starts licking lips like, yeah, My mom has this Siamese cat, this little adorable mooing Siamese cat. She's adorable, feisty little girl, and she cleans herself, you know, like as a cat does. Whenever she cleans herself, it has to be like one of the most graphic sounding things I've heard in a long time. Like it's nearly fucking pornographic, okay? Like it's yeah. She's a nasty. It'll be wild if I ever manage to put it together. Hi, Elmo. Okay. Excuse me. Flora was so markedly feverish that an illness was perhaps at hand. She had passed a night of extreme unrest, a night agitated above all by fears that had for their subject not in the least her former, but wholly her present governess. It was not against the possible re-entrance of Miss Jessel on the scene that she protested. It was conspicuously and passionately against mine. I was promptly on my feet, of course, and with an immense deal to ask, the more that my friend had discernibly now girded her loins to meet me once more. This I felt as soon as I had put to her the question of her sense of the child's sincerity as against my own. She persists in denying to you that she saw or has ever seen anything? Oh. You're free to leave. Your mother cat was that the Sphinx from ancient Egypt. My mother's cat. Oh my god. Oh, we're going back to that. Come on. That was a yesterday bit. Kelly, thank you for the follow. Wendare Sky, thank you so much for the follow. I hope y'all are doing good. Oh, where was I? My visitor's trouble truly was great. Miss, it isn't a matter on which I can push her. Yet it isn't either, I must say, as if I much needed to. It has made her, every inch of her, quite old. Oh, I see her perfectly from here. She resents for all the world like some high little personage the imputation on her truthfulness and, as it were, her respectability. Miss Jessel, indeed. She's respectable. The chit? The impression she gave me there yesterday was, I assure you, the very strangest of all. It was quite beyond any of the others. I did put my foot in it. She'll never speak to me again. Hideous and obscure as it all was, it held Mrs. Gross briefly silent. Then she granted my point with a frankness which, I made sure, had more behind it. I think indeed, miss, she never will. She do have a grand manner about it. And that manner, I summed it up, is practically what's the matter with her now. Dark Cat, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing super good. Our girlies are gonna sleep. Try to get some good sleeps, Grass. I hope you get some sleep. Oh, what are we reading? Jet ski. Excuse me, thank you for the follow. I hope you're good and comfy. Leaves. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay. Come here, you. Come here. Over here. Oh, thank you so much for the hydrate, too. Oh, that manner. Oh, the stretch. Thank you. Ah. Excuse you? Why are you excusing me? In that manner, I summed it up as practically what's the matter with her now. Oh, yes, I can do my job here. For context, I go around making sure people stay hydrated when there's your. Oh, well, that's sweet of you. Did I burp? Oops. Yep, staying hydrated is very important. Thank you for your service. Oh, that manner. I could see in my visitor's face, and not a little else besides. She asked me every 3 minutes if I think you're coming in. I see. I see. I, too, on my side, had so much more than worked it out. Has she said to you since yesterday, except to repudiate her familiarity with anything so dreadful, a single other word about Miss Jessel? Not one, miss. And of course you know, my friend added. I took it from her, by the lake, that just then and there at least, there was nobody. Rather, and naturally, you took it from her still. I don't contradict her. What else can I do? Nothing in the world. You've the cleverest little person to deal with. They've made them. Their two friends, I mean, still cleverer even than nature did. For it was wondrous material to play on. Flora has now her grievance and she'll work it to the end. It's a cat! What's up, cat? Dropping out of the sky and right into my lap. Oh my lord. Meow. What were you doing, cat? What were you doing? Welcome in, readers. Welcome in, cat. Oh my goodness, y'all, it's Cat. If y'all don't remember, Cat was one of the girlies we played Escape the Back Rooms with. She's good people. She's good people. We like her voice. We like her voice and her model a whole lot. I believe we're gonna be doing something with the same girlies sometime next week, I wanna say. Yeah, welcome in, y'all. Welcome in. Thank you for the raid. If y'all don't know me, my name is Banshee. I'm a ghost. I'm not scary, I promise. Kept backing things. Okay. We do ASMR around these parts and we also play some scary games. Yeah. Yeah, we're super good at games, clearly. Yeah. But yeah, so what are y'all doing? Y'all doing ASMR too. Heck yeah. How was your stream? How was your stream? I hope it was good. I hope it was good. And of course, Cat, Raiders, y'all are not tied down here. Your self-care is super important. Solid, please. Please make sure you're taking care of yourselves. Go stretch your legs, get some food, get some water, get some sleep, whatever you need to do, by all means. It was good. Did some Hades gameplay first and finished with ASMR wind down. Heck yeah. It was all around a very chill time. I'm glad it was. That's awesome. I've played a tiny bit of Hades on my own. I need to play more of it. I really liked its style. Oh my goodness. Only regulars are trapped. Okay. But yeah, we're just reading tonight. We're just having a nice relaxed time reading a kind of spooky story about ghost possession, ghost possessing children and such. A story called Turn of the Screw. And let's ow. I appreciate. Yeah, I played Phasmophobia. It's been a hot minute because I wasn't a big fan of some of the new things that they've done with it, to be perfectly honest. I used to play it all the time though. You'll have to bully the ghosts, yeah. Yeah, same. That's allowed to come and go because Banshee doesn't like puns. Oh, solid. But yeah, we're gonna get back to our story. And if you feel like sticking around, good, nice and cozy, and yeah. And where the fuck was I? Where was I? I think I finished this part. Okay. I like the new map reworks. I think they make the game genuinely scary sometimes. When they reworked Tanglewood, I was kind of over it. When I heard that they were doing Tanglewood, I thought, you know, give me my nostalgia. I don't know. I took it a little personal. Solid with the 5-stream streak. She doesn't get lost. It's the finals, right? Yeah, exactly. Me and Carrot used to play it all the time, like all the time. We did with Kate and Cuppy, like, so yeah. Is one map they should yeah, completely. It's the OG, like, you know. Anyway. Yes, miss, but to what end? Why, that of dealing with me to her uncle. She'll make me out to him the lowest creature. I winced at the fair show of the scene in Mrs. Gross's faces. Blah, 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 blah. Mrs. Gross's face. She looked for a minute as if she sharply saw them together. And him who thinks so well of you. He has an odd way. It comes over me now, I laughed, of proving it. But that doesn't matter. What Flora wants, of course, is to get rid of me. My companion bravely concurred. Never again to so much as to look at you. So that what you've come to me now for, I asked, is to speed me on my way? Before she had time to reply, however, I had her in check. I have a better idea. The result of my reflections. My going would seem the right thing, and on Sunday I was terribly near it. Yet that won't do. It's you who must go. You must take Flora. My visitor at this did speculate. But where in the world? Away from here. Away from them. Away, even most of all now, from me. Straight to her uncle. Only to tell on you? No, not only. To leave me, in addition, with my remedy. She was still vague. And what is your remedy? Your loyalty to begin with. And then Miles. She looked at me hard. Do you think he won't if he has the chance to turn on me? Yes, I venture still to think it. At all events, I want to try. Get off with his sister as soon as possible and leave me with him alone. I was amazed myself at the spirit I had still in reserve, and therefore perhaps a trifle the more disconcerted at the way in which, in spite of this fine example of it, she hesitated. There's one thing, of course, I went on. They mustn't, before she goes, see each other for 3 seconds. Then it came over me that, in spite of Flora's presumable sequestration from the instant of her return from the pool, it might already be too late. Do you mean, I anxiously asked, that they have met? It's not grim. Holy mommy. Yeah, the prestiging, I just not for me. Not for me. Not for a ghost game. Yeah, Project Unknown is really fun. Yeah. I just like bullying them. Angry Irish, thank you for the follow. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're good and cozy. And I'm a clown. Well, I mean, if we're gonna be a clown, you're gonna get a little bit closer. Hello. And your screen's about to get it. Ah. A cute clown, though. And that's what we're calling this. I wanted some clowning around. Okay. Okay. That's what you got. I do have sick cooties. I do. I just infected all of you. Was it worth it? Knee's killing me, but I'm sorry your knee's hurting. I'm sorry. Isn't that why people play WoW? Yeah, no thank you. Joke's on you, I'm already sick. Yeah, I've never played WoW. Overall doing well, that's good. Grind for gear, for greater power not to get a candle. That's true. Oh. If you've infected me, does that mean we can quarantine together? Maybe. Maybe. You want to be my quarantine buddy, huh? Aren't even useful. Oh goodness. There's Drobs. Where are we? Here we go. At this she quite flushed. Ah, miss, I'm not such a fool as that. If I've been obliged to leave her 3 or 4 times, it has been each time with one of the maids. And at present, though she's alone, she's locked in safe. And yet, there were too many things. And yet what? Well, are you so sure of the little gentleman? I'm not sure of anything but you. But I have, since last evening, a new hope. I think he wants to give me an opening. I do believe that poor little exquisite wretch, he wants to speak. Last evening, in the firelight and the silence, he sat with me for 2 hours as if it were just coming. Thank you for the hydrate. This loser simp named Carrot, that's wild. Mrs. Gross looked hard through the window at the gray gathering day. And did it come? No. Though I waited and waited, I confess it didn't. And it was without a breach of the silence or so much as a faint allusion to a sister's condition and absence that we at last kissed for good night. All the same, I continued, I can't, if her uncle sees her, consent to his seeing her brother without my having given the boy, and most of all because things have got so bad, a little more time. Valerie, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. My friend appeared on this ground more reluctant than I could quite understand. What do you mean by more time? Well, a day or 2, really, to bring it out. He'll then be on my side, of which you see the importance. If nothing comes, I shall only fail, and you will, at the worst, have helped me by doing, on your arrival in town, whatever you may have found possible. So I put it before her, but she continued for a little, so inscrutably embarrassed that I came again to her aid. Unless, indeed, I wound up, you really want not to go. I could see it in her face at last clear itself. She put out her hand to me as a pledge. I'll go. I'll go. I'll go this morning. I wanted to be very just. If you should wish still to wait, I would engage she shouldn't see me. No, no, it's the place itself. She must leave it. She held me a moment with heavy eyes, then brought out the rest. Your idea's the right one. I myself miss... well, I can't stay. The look she gave me with it made me jump at possibilities. You mean that since yesterday you have seen... Excuse me. She shook her head with dignity. I've heard from that child. Horrors. There. She sighed with tragic relief. On my honor, miss, she says things. But at this evocation she broke down. She dropped with a sudden sob upon my sofa and, as I had seen her do before, gave way to all the grief of it. Excuse me. I was like, why did the thing go quiet? There we go. It was quite in another manner that I, for my part, let myself go. Oh, thank God. She sprang up again at this, drying her eyes with a groan. Thank God. It so justifies me. It does that, miss. I couldn't have desired more emphasis, but I just hesitated. She's so horrible. I saw my colleagues scarce knew how to put it. Really shocking. And about me, about you, miss, since you must have it. It's beyond everything for a young lady, and I can't think wherever she must have picked up the appalling language she applied to me. I can, then. I broke in with a laugh that was doubtless significant enough. Thanks for the stretch, Gary. Oh, goodness. Ah. It only, in truth, left my friend still more grave. Well, perhaps I ought to also, since I've heard some of it before. Yet I can't bear it. The poor woman went on while, with the same movement, she glanced on my dressing table at the face of my watch. But I must go back. I kept her, however. If you can't bear it, how can I stop with her, you mean? Why, just for that. To get her away. Far from this, she pursued. Far from them. She may be different. She may be free. I seized her almost with joy. Then, in spite of yesterday, you believe in such doings? Her simple description of them required, in the light of her expression, to be carried no further. And she gave me the whole thing as she had never done, I believe. Yes, it was a joy, and we were still shoulder to shoulder. If I might continue sure of that, I should care but little what else happened. My support in the presence of disaster would be the same as it had been in my early need of confidence, and if my friend would answer for my honesty, I would answer for all the rest. On the point of taking leave of her, nonetheless, I was to some extent embarrassed. There's one thing, of course. It occurs to me to remember. My letter, giving the alarm, will have reached town before you. I now perceived still more how she had been beating about the bush and how weary at last it had made her. Your letter won't have got there. Your letter never went. What then became of it? Goodness knows. Master Miles, do you mean he took it? I gasped. She hung fire, but she overcame her reluctance. I mean that I saw yesterday, when I came back with Miss Flora, that it wasn't where you had put it. Later in the evening, I had the chance to question Luke, and he declared that he had neither noticed nor touched it. We could only exchange on this, one of our deeper mutual soundings, and it was Mrs. Gross who first brought up the plum with an almost elated, "You see?" Yes, I see that if Miles took it instead, he probably will have read it and destroyed it. And don't you see anything else? I faced her a moment with a sad smile. It strikes me that by this time your eyes are open even wider than mine. They prove to be so indeed, but she could still blush, almost to show it. I make out now what he must have done at school. And she gave in her simple sharpness an almost droll disillusioned nod. He stole. I turned it over. I tried to be more judicial. Well, perhaps. She looked as if she found me unexpectedly calm. He stole letters. King Mercy, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. Oh. She couldn't know my reasons for a calmness, after all, pretty shallow. So I showed them off as I might. I hope then it was to more purpose than in this case. The note, at any rate, that I put on the table yesterday, I pursued, will have given him so scant an advantage, for it contained only the bare demand for an interview, that he is already much ashamed of having gone so far for so little, and that what he had on his mind last evening was precisely the need of confession. I seemed to myself for the instant to have mastered it, to see it all. Leave us, leave us. I was already at the door, hurrying her off. I'll get it out of him. He'll meet me. He'll confess. If he confesses, he's saved. And if he's saved, then you are. The dear woman kissed me on this, and I took her farewell. I'll save you without him, she cried as she went. What the... What kind of first time chat is that? Oh, it made me have to cough. Oh my goodness. Successfully wipe with only 6 labs. Sure. Yeah, sure. Sure. I'm gonna mute for a second so I can... I was gonna say the ply is definitely what would matter most there. Okie dokie. Alright. Chapter 22. We are very close to the end. Ooh. Yet it was when she had got off, and I missed her on the spot, that the great pinch really came. If I had counted on what it would give me to find myself alone with Miles, I speedily perceived, at least, that it would give me a measure. No hour of my stay, in fact, was so assailed with apprehensions as that of my coming down to learn that the carriage containing Mrs. Gross and my younger pupil had already rolled out of the gates. Now I said to myself, face to face with the elements, and for much of the rest of the day, while I fought my weakness, I could consider that I had been supremely rash. It was a tighter place still than I had yet turned around in. All the more that, for the first time, I could see in the aspect of others a confused reflection of the crisis. What had happened naturally caused them all to stare. There was too little of the explained. Throw out whatever we might in the suddenness of my colleague's act. The maids and the men looked blank, the effect of which on my nerves was an aggravation until I saw the necessity of making it a positive aid. It was precisely, in short, by just clutching the helm that I avoided total wreck, and I dare say that, to bear up at all, I became, that morning, very grand and very dry. I welcomed the consciousness that I was charged with much to do, and I caused it to be known as well that, left thus to myself, I was quite remarkably firm. I wandered with that manner for the next hour or two, all over the place, and looked, I have no doubt, as if I were ready for any onset. So, for the benefit of whom it might concern, I paraded with a sick heart. Brownish milk, thank you so much for the phone. Thank you for the phone. Really? I'm just trying to read, man. That's how I read. I don't know how to do this. I'm trying to read. Are we proud of ourselves? Are we proud? Are we proud? All right. We're too close again. Banshee's treasured and totally priceless book reading. Read these now, I swear to God. Okay. Stretch my leggy. Oh wait, that's right. I don't have a cat right there. Oh. Oh yeah. We're getting nice and stretched. Here we go. Okay. The person it appeared least to concern proved to be, till dinner, little Miles himself. My perambulations had given me, meanwhile, no glimpse of him, but they had tended to make more public the change taking place in our relation, as a consequence of his having at the piano, the day before, kept me, in Flora's interest, so beguiled and befooled. The stamp of publicity had, of course, been fully given by her confinement and departure, and the change itself was now ushered in by our non-observance of the regular custom of the schoolroom. He had already disappeared when, on my way down, I pushed open his door, and I learned below that he had breakfasted, in the presence of a couple of the maids, with Mrs. Gross and his sister. He had then gone out, as he said, for a stroll, than which nothing, I reflected, could better have expressed his frank view of the abrupt transformation of my office. What he would not permit this office to consist of was yet to be settled. There was a queer relief at all events. I mean, for myself in especial, in the renouncement of one pretension. If so much had sprung to the surface, I scarce put it too strongly in saying that what had perhaps sprung highest was the absurdity of our prolonging the fiction that I had anything more to teach him. I sufficiently stuck out that, by tacit little tricks in which even more than myself he carried out the care for my dignity, I had had to appeal to him to let me off straining to meet him on the ground of his true capacity. He had, at any rate, his freedom now. I was never to touch it again, as I had amply shown, moreover, when, on his joining me in the schoolroom the previous night, I had uttered, on the subject of the interval just concluded, neither challenge nor hint. I had too much from this moment my other ideas. Yet when he at last arrived, the difficulty of applying them, being accumulations of my problem, were brought straight home to me by the beautiful little presence on which what had occurred had, as yet, for the eye, dropped neither stain nor shadow. Oh my god. To mark, for the house, the high state I cultivated, I decreed that my meals with the boy should be served, as we called it, downstairs, so that I had been awaiting him in the ponderous pomp of the room, outside of the window of which I had had from Mrs. Gross, that first scared Sunday, my flash of something it would scarce have done to call light. Thank you for the hydrate. Here at present I felt afresh, for I had felt it again and again. How my equilibrium depended on the success of my rigid will, the will to shut my eyes as tight as possible to the truth that what I had to deal with was, revoltingly, against nature. I could only get on at all by taking nature into my confidence and my account, by treating my monstrous ordeal as a push in a direction unusual, of course, and unpleasant, but demanding, after all, for a fair front, only another turn of the screw of ordinary human virtue. No attempt, none the less, could well require more tact than just this attempt to supply oneself all the nature. How could I put even a little of that article into a suppression of reference to what had occurred? How, on the other hand, could I make reference without a new plunge into the hideous obscure? Well, a sort of answer after a time had come to me. Oh goodness. Miss Rogue, hello. EP Dewdrop's ready. Oh, that's cute. EP Dewdrop's ready to chill. That's so cute. What a cute raid message. Welcome in, Miss Rogue. Welcome in, raiders. How are y'all doing? What were y'all doing? Were y'all doing some ASMR? What were y'all doing? Let's see. Where's my little message thingy? There it is. Where is it? Is it there? ASMR, yes, it was. There was ASMR. How was your stream? Thank you for the raid. If y'all don't know me, my name is Banshee. I am a ghost. I'm not scary though. It's okay. You're safe here. You're safe here, I promise. I'm a little sick, so don't mind if I'm a little icky sounding or whatever, but yeah, we do ASMR on these parts. We do ASMR and we play don't put the quotations around safe. We play mainly horror games. Super duper well. We're true pro gamers around here. Yeah, how are y'all doing? I hope your stream was good. I hope it was super good. I hope it was nice and chill and relaxing and all this stuff. It was a good stream. It's eep time for you though. Oh, absolutely. You take care of yourself. Get all that sleep. Get all that sleep, please. And let me go ahead and follow you because I wanna check out your stuff too. Follow. Boop. The way I love seeing and meeting new, well, you know, not new, but like new to me ASMR creators. But yeah, thank you again for the raid. Oh god. See, like I said, I'm sick. Programmer, yeah, unrelated, but the death counter should go higher than 50 next time. Yeah, yeah. Unrelated though, totally unrelated. Oh my goodness. Fade Blade, thank you so much for the follow. And Miss Rogue, yes, thank you for the follow too. I appreciate y'all. But yeah, so we're just doing some chill, kind of spooky, kind of relaxing reading over here. A ghost, you said? I am a ghost. I am a ghost. Oh, Citizen Z, Danny Boy, Wolf Connor, Luna, Starlight. Thank y'all for the follows. Thank y'all so much for the follows. I appreciate. Hope y'all are all doing really good. And of course, there's the fucking cuckoo clock. That is never right. That is actually 11 minutes off right now. That's cool. Uh yeah, we're near the end of reading Turn of the Screw. Let me see how much further we should finish it this stream, I do believe. Looking at where we're at here. I think we will. You support spooky stories? Heck yeah, heck yeah. Oh, hi hero. I'm good. I'm good and comfy. I hope you're good too. It tells time whenever it likes. Whenever it likes at this point. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're really not wrong there. It's become sentient. I wouldn't be surprised, dude. Enjoy anything by Edgar Allan Poe? Yeah, we've actually read some Poe on stream before. Oh, I had a little moment when we back when we like kind of started, where we were kind of hopping in between Lovecraft and Poe at one point, and then we bounced around a lot. We've read yeah, EP story time. What have we read? We've read quite a bit so far. We've read Frankenstein. That was my favorite thing that we've read so far, actually. I really I loved that book. It was so good, and it was my first time reading it. And we've read a lot. We've read a lot. We recently read where's my little list? Because my brain is starting to go, huh. Oh yeah, we read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and we read a vampire story called Carmilla. We're reading The Turn of the Screw right now. By Henry James, I believe. Yeah. His reading streams are a little ways back, but there's a VOD. Yeah, there's a VODs channel. You can find them pretty easily. There's even like a little playlist. But yes, back to our book, back to our story. So, excuse me. Okay. Yeah, Carrot did override the book pit. Fucking brat. Well, A sort of answer after a time. It was neglected, but it's not neglected anymore. A sort of answer after a time had come to me, and it was so far confirmed as that I was met, incontestably, by the quickened vision of what was rare in my little companion. It was indeed as if he had found even now, as he had so often found at lessons, still some other delicate way to ease me off. Wasn't there light in the fact which, as we shared our solitude, broke out with a specious glitter. That sounded like I had a stroke, okay. Glitter it had never yet quite worn. The fact that opportunity aiding, precious opportunity which had now come, it would be preposterous with a child so endowed to forego the help one might wrest from absolute intelligence. What had his intelligence been given him for but to save him? Mightn't one, to reach his mind, risk the stretch of an angular arm over his character? It was as if, when we were face to face in the dining room, he had literally shown me the way. The roast mutton was on the table, and I had dispensed with attendance. Miles, before he sat down, stood a moment with his hands in his pockets and looked at the joint, on which he seemed on the point of passing some humorous judgment. But what he presently produced was, "I say, my dear, is she really very awfully ill?" And I am in a jar. I am reading in a jar. I like it. Little Flora? Not so bad, but that she'll presently be better. London will set her up. Bly had ceased to agree with her. Come here and take your mutton. He alertly obeyed me, carried the plate carefully to his seat, and, when he was established, went on. Did Bly disagree with her so terribly suddenly? Not so suddenly as you might think. One had seen it coming on. Then why didn't you get her off before? Before what? Before she became too ill to travel. I found myself prompt. She's not too ill to travel. She only might have become so if she had stayed. This was just the moment to seize. The journey will dissipate the influence. Oh, I was grand. And carry it off. I see. Miles, for that matter, was grand too. He settled to his repast with the charming little table manner that, from the day of his arrival, had relieved me of all grossness of admonition. Whatever he had been driven from school for, it was not for ugly feeding. He was irreproachable, as always today, but he was unmistakably more conscious. He was discernibly trying to take for granted more things than he found, without assistance, quite easy, and he dropped into peaceful silence while he felt his situation. Our meal was of the briefest, mine a vain pretense, and I had the things immediately removed. While this was done, Miles stood again with his hands in his little pockets and his back to me, stood and looked out of the wide window through which, that other day, I had seen what pulled me up. We continued silent while the maid was with us. As silent, it whimsically occurred to me, as some young couple who, on their wedding journey, at the inn, feel shy in the presence of the waiter. He turned around only when the waiter had left us. Well, so we're alone. That's really creepy because he's a kid. Miles is a child, okay? All right. I mean, Miles is a possessed or potentially possessed child at this point. Yeah, just a bit creepy. I know. Oh, goodness. Chapter 23. Oh, more or less. I fancy my smile was pale. Not absolutely. We shouldn't like that, I went on. Get back 200 feet. No, I suppose we shouldn't. Of course we have the others. We have the others. We have indeed the others, I concurred. Yet even though we have them, he returned, still with his hands in his pockets and planted there in front of me. They don't much count, do they? I made the best of it, but I felt wan. It depends on what you call much. Yes, with all accommodation, everything depends. On this, however, he faced to the window again and presently reached it with his vague, restless, cogitating step. He remained there a while, with his forehead against the glass in contemplation of the stupid shrubs I knew and the dull things of November. I had always my hypocrisy of work behind which, now, I gained the sofa. Steadying myself with it there, as I had repeatedly done at those moments of torment that I have described as the moments of my knowing the children to be given to something from which I was barred, I sufficiently obeyed my habit of being prepared for the worst. But an extraordinary impression dropped on me as I extracted a meaning from the boy's embarrassed back. Excuse me. None other than the impression that I was not barred now. Yes, thank you for the hydrate. I have finished my tea, but we have water. This inference grew in a few minutes to sharp intensity and seemed bound up with the direct perception that it was positively he who was. The frames and squares of the great window were a kind of image, for him, of a kind of failure. I felt that I saw him, at any rate, shut in or shut out. He was admirable, but not comfortable. I took it in with a throb of hope. Wasn't he looking through the haunted pane for something he couldn't see? And wasn't it the first time in the whole business that he had known such a lapse? The very first. I found it a splendid portent. It made him anxious, though he watched himself. He had been anxious all day, and even while in his usual sweet little manner he sat at table, had needed all his small strange genius to give it a gloss. When he at last turned round to meet me, it was almost as if this genius had succumbed. Well, I think I'm glad Bly agrees with me. You would certainly seem to have seen these 24 hours, a good deal more of it than for some time before. I hope, I went on bravely, that you've been enjoying yourself. Oh, yes, I've been ever so far, all around about miles and miles away. I've never been so free. He had really a manner of his own, and I could only try to keep up with him. Well, do you like it? He stood there smiling, then at last he put into 2 words, "Do you?" More discrimination than I had ever heard 2 words contain. Before I had time to deal with that, however, he continued as if with the sense that this was an impertinence to be softened. Nothing could be more charming than the way you take it, for, of course, if we're alone together now, it's you that are alone most. But I hope, he threw in, you don't particularly mind. This is really creepy. This is a child. This is a possessed child talking to her. It's really creepy. Copy Real and Kaden, thank you so much for the follows. I hope y'all are doing good. I hope y'all are doing really, really good. Having to do with you? I asked. Hi, Uni. My dear child, how can I help minding? Though I've renounced all claim to your company, you're so beyond me. I at least greatly enjoy it. What else should I stay on for? He looked at me more directly, and the expression of his face, graver now, struck me as the most beautiful I had ever found in it. You stay on just for that? Certainly. I stay on as your friend, and from the tremendous interest I take in you, till something can be done for you that may be more worth your while. That needn't surprise you. My voice trembled so that I felt it impossible to suppress the shake. Don't you remember how I told you, when I came and sat on your bed with the night of the storm, that there was nothing in the world I wouldn't do for you? Yes, he's... He on his side, more and more visibly nervous, had a tone to master. But he was so much more successful than that, laughing out through his gravity, he could pretend we were pleasantly jesting. Only that, I think, was to get me to do something for you. It was partly to get you to do something, I conceded. But, you didn't do it. Oh, yes, he said with the brightest superficial eagerness. You wanted me to tell you something. That's it. Out. Straight out. What you have on your mind, Ah, then, is that what you've stayed over for? He spoke with a gaiety through which I could still catch the finest little quiver of resentful passion, but I can't begin to express the effect upon me of an implication of surrender even so faint. It was as if what I had yearned for had come at last, only to astonish me. Well, yes, I may as well make a clean breast of it. It was precisely for that. And I'm a clown again. I am a clown again, okay. Shadow, thank you. Thank you for this, Shadow. Thank you. Coming close, and... Let's make sure your screens are all clean. You're welcome. You're welcome for that. Yeah. He waited so long that I supposed it for the purpose of repudiating the assumption on which my action had been founded. But what he finally said was, "Do you mean now? Here?" There couldn't be a better place or time. He looked round him uneasily, and I had the rare, the queer impression of the very first symptom I had seen in him of the approach of immediate fear. It was as if he were suddenly afraid of me, which struck me indeed as perhaps the best thing to make him. Yet, in the very pang of the effort, I felt it vain to try sternness, and I heard myself the next instant so gentle as to be almost grotesque. "You want so to go out again?" "Awfully," he smiled at me heroically, and the touching little bravery of it was enhanced by his actually flushing with pain. He had picked up his hat, which he had brought in, and stood twirling it in a way that gave me, even as I was just nearly reaching port, a perverse horror of what I was doing. To do it anyway. To do it in any way was an act of violence, for what did it consist of but the obtrusion of the idea of grossness and guilt on a small helpless creature who had been for me a revelation of the possibilities of beautiful intercourse. Some of the phrasing in this is just really fucking unfortunate today. I swear to God. Wasn't it base to create for a being so exquisite a mere alien awkwardness? I suppose I now read into our situation a clearness it couldn't have had at the time, for I seemed to see our poor eyes already lighted with some spark of a prevision of the anguish that was to come. So we circled about with terrors and scruples, like fighters not daring to close. But it was for each other we feared that kept us a little longer suspended and unbruised. "I'll tell you everything," Miles said. "I mean, I'll tell you anything you like. You'll stay on with me and we shall both be all right, and I will tell you. I will. But not now." "Why not now?" My insistence turned him from me and kept him once more at his window in a silence during which, between us, you might have heard a pin drop. Then he was before me again, with the air of a person for whom, outside, someone who had frankly to be reckoned with was waiting. "I have to see Luke." I had not yet reduced him to quite so vulgar a lie, and I felt proportionately ashamed. But, horrible as it was, his lies made up my truth. I achieved thoughtfully a few loops of my knitting. "Well, then, go to Luke, and I'll wait for what you promise. Only, in return for that, satisfy before you leave me one very much smaller request." He looked as if he felt he had succeeded enough to be able still a little to bargain. "Very much smaller?" "Yes, a mere fraction of the whole. Tell me—" my work preoccupied me and I was offhand. "If, yesterday afternoon, from the table in the hall, you took, my letter." Chapter 24. My sense of how he received this suffered for a minute from something that I can describe only as a fierce split of my attention. A stroke that, at first, as I sprang straight up, reduced me to the mere blind movement of getting hold of him, drawing him close, and, while I just fell for support against the nearest piece of furniture, instinctively keeping him with his back to the window. The appearance was full upon us that I had already had to deal with here. Peter Quint had come into view like a sentinel before prison. The next thing I saw was that, from outside, he had reached the window, and that I knew that, close to the glass and glaring in through it, he offered once more to the room his white face of damnation. It represents but grossly what took place within me at the sight to say that, on the second my decision was made, yet I believe that no woman so overwhelmed ever in so short a time recovered her grasp of the act. It came to me in the very horror of the immediate presence that the act would be, seeing and facing what I saw and faced, to keep the boy himself unaware. The inspiration, I can call it by no other name, was that I felt how voluntarily, how transcendently, I might. It was like fighting with a demon for a human soul, and when I had fairly so appraised it, I saw how the human soul, held out in the tremor of my hands at arm's length, had a perfect dew of sweat on a lovely childish forehead. The face that was close to mine was as white as the face against the glass, and out of it presently came a sound, not low nor weak, but as if from much further away, that I drank like a waft of fragrance. Yes, I took it. At this, with a moan of joy I enfolded, I drew him close, and while I held him to my breast, where I could feel in the sudden fever of his little body the tremendous pulse of his little heart, I kept my eyes on the thing at the window and saw it move and shift its posture. I have likened it to a sentinel, but its slow wheel, for a moment, was rather the prowl of a baffled beast. My present quickened courage, however, was such that, not too much to let it through, I had to shade, as it were, my flame. Meanwhile, the glare of the face was again at the window, the scoundrel fixed as if to watch and wait. It was the very confidence that I might now defy him, as well as the positive certitude, by this time, of the child's unconsciousness, that made me go on. What did you take it for? To see what you said about me. You opened the letter. I opened it. My eyes were now, as I held him off a little again, on Miles' own face, in which the collapse of mockery showed me how complete was the ravage of uneasiness. What was prodigious was that at last, by my success, his sense was sealed and his communication stopped. He knew that he was in presence, but knew not of what, and knew still less that I also was and that I did know. And what did this strain of trouble matter when my eyes went back to the window only to see that the air was clear again and, by my personal triumph, the influence quenched? There was nothing there. I felt that the cause was mine and that I should surely get all. And you found nothing. I let my elation out. He gave the most mournful, thoughtful little head shake. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, I almost shouted in my joy. Nothing, nothing, he sadly repeated. I kissed his forehead. It was drenched. So what have you done with it? I've burned it. Burned it? It was now or never. Is that what you did at school? Oh, what this brought up. At school? Did you take letters? Or other things? Other things. He appeared now to be thinking of something far off, and that reached him only through the pressure of his anxiety. Yet it did reach him. Did I steal? I felt myself redden to the roots of my hair, as well as wonder if it were more strange to put to a gentleman such a question, or to see him take it with allowances that gave the very distance of his fall in the world. Was it for that you mightn't go back? The only thing he felt was rather a dreary little surprise. Didn't you know I mightn't come? Did you know I mightn't go back? I know everything. He gave me at this the longest and strangest look. Everything. Everything. Therefore, did you... But I couldn't say it again. Miles could, very simply. No, I didn't steal. My face must have shown him I believed him utterly. Yet my hands, but it was for pure tenderness, shook him as if to ask him why. If it was all for nothing, he had condemned me to months of torment. What then did you do? Thank you for the hydrate. He looked in vague pain all round the top of the room and drew his breath 2 or 3 times over, as if with difficulty. He might have been standing at the bottom of the sea and raising his eyes to some faint green twilight. Well, I said things. Only that? They thought it was enough. To turn you out for? Never truly had a person turned out shown so little to explain it as this little person. He appeared to weigh my question, but in a manner quite detached and almost helpless. Well, I suppose I oughtn't. But to whom did you say them? He evidently tried to remember, but it dropped. He had lost it. I don't know. He almost smiled at me in the desolation of his surrender, which was indeed practically, by this time, so complete that I ought to have left it there, but I was infatuated. I was blind with victory, though even then the very effect that was to have brought him so much nearer was already that of added separation. Was it to everyone? I asked. No, it was only to... But he gave a sick little head shake. I don't remember their names. Were they then so many? No, only a few. Those I liked. Those he liked. I seemed to float not into clearness, but into a darker obscure, and within a minute there had come to me out of my very pity the appalling alarm of his being perhaps innocent. It was for the instant confounding and bottomless, for if he were innocent, what then on earth was I? Paralyzed while it lasted by the mere brush of the question, I let him go a little, so that, with a deep drawn sigh, he turned away from me again, which, as he faced toward the clear window, I suffered, feeling that I had nothing now there to keep him from. And did they repeat what you said? I went on after a moment. He was soon at some distance from me, still breathing hard and again with the air, though now without anger for it, of being confined against his will. Once more, as he had done before, he looked up at the dim day as if, of what had hitherto sustained him, nothing was left but an unspeakable anxiety. "Oh, yes," he nevertheless replied. "They must have repeated them. To those they liked," he added. There was, somehow, less of it than I had expected, but I turned it over. "And these things came round to the masters?" "Oh, yes," he answered very simply. "But I didn't know they'd tell." "The masters? They didn't. They've never told. That's why I ask you." He turned to me again, his little, beautiful, fevered face. "Yes, it was too bad." Too bad? What I suppose I sometimes said, to write home. I can't name the exquisite pathos of the contradiction given to such a speech by such a speaker. I only know that the next instant I heard myself throw off with homely force, "Stuff and nonsense!" But the next after that I must have sounded stern enough. What were these things? Immortal, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing super duper good. Oh, look at y'all. Over halfway to the clicker check-in. Oh, goodness. Oh, my legs. Oh, my lord. Ugh. Yeah, in a week, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. In less than a week. My sternness, the power of the clicker, I swear to God. Hi. My sternness was all for his judge, his executioner. Yet it made him avert himself again, and that movement made me, with a single bound and an irrepressible cry, spring straight upon him. For there again, against the glass, as if to blight his confession and stay his answer, was the hideous author of our woe, the white face of damnation. I felt a sick swim at the drop of my victory and all the return of my battle, so that the wildness of my veritable leap only served as a great betrayal. I saw him, from the midst of my act, meet it with a divination, and on the perception that even now he only guessed, and that the window was still to his own eyes free, I let the impulse flame up to convert the climax of his dismay into the very proof of his liberation. "No more, no more, no more," I shrieked, as I tried to press him against me to my visitant. "Is she here?" Miles panted as he caught with his sealed eyes the direction of my words. Then, as his strange she staggered me, and with a gasp, I echoed it. "Miss Jessel! Miss Jessel!" he, with a sudden fury, gave me back. I seized, stupefied, his supposition. Some sequel to what we had done to Flora, but this made me only want to show him that it was better still than that. It's not Miss Jessel, but it's at the window, straight before us. It's there, the coward horror, there for the last time. At this, after a second in which his head made the movement of a baffled dog's on a scent and then gave a frantic little shake for air and light, he was at me in a white rage, bewildered, glaring vainly over the place and missing wholly, though it now to my sense filled the room like the taste of poison, the wide, overwhelming presence. It's he? I was so determined to have all my proof that I flashed into ice to challenge him. Whom do you mean by he? Peter Quint, you devil. His face gave again, round the room, its convulsed supplication. Where? There in my ear still, his supreme surrender of the name and his tribute to my devotion. What does he matter now, my own? What will he ever matter? I have you. I launched at the beast. But he has lost you forever. Then, for the demonstration of my work, there, I said to Miles. But he had already jerked straight round, stared, glared again, and seen but the quiet day. With the stroke of the loss I was so proud of, he uttered the cry of a creature hurled over an abyss, and the grasp with which I recovered him might have been that of catching him in his fall. I caught him, yes, I held him. It may be imagined with what a passion, but at the end of a minute, I began to feel what it truly was that I held. We were alone with the quiet day, and his little heart, dispossessed, had stopped. So Miss Jessel took her over. Am I interpreting this right? Strange, she staggered me, and with a gasp I echoed, Miss Jessel, Miss Jessel. I mean, that's how I read that. Assault Queen, thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're doing good. So Miss Jessel took the governess over and in turn killed Miles. I believe. Am I interpreting that right? All my proof that I flashed in the ice. Google. Turn of the screw. Let's look at the summary. Let's look at the end of it. 5-stream streak for Elf. Heck yeah. First time I've heard the story. Hi. Welcome in. I just need to, let's see. With Flora and Mrs. Greer's gone, Miles and the governess talk after dinner. That's what we just had. Governess asks if he took her letter. He confesses, and the governess sees Quint outside. She watches Quint. And hard, then points him out to Miles, who asks if it is Peter Quint, and looks out the window in vain. He cries out, then falls into the governess's arms, dead. Huh. Yeah, give me the analysis. Or, I mean, like, we know what literally happened, but... Yeah, like, the governess possible madness, which, I mean, you could... So what does this say? It's fine. We're gonna read this analysis because I need it. I can't go to sleep not understanding what we just read. Classic of the Gothic genre follows an unnamed protagonist in her attempts to perform her duties as governess for 2 children. Miles and Flora at Bly, the country manor where they live. The governess's primary desire initially is to care for the children as she is hired to do. The desire, however, is complicated by the supernatural nature of the governess's experiences, which we see as her singing Miss Jess or Miss Jessel or whatever, and Peter Quint at Bly, which serves the novel's inciting incident. The governess soon becomes suspicious of Miles and Flora, vacillating wildly between wanting to protect them and suspecting them of deceiving her. Oh my god, excuse me. And of having been corrupted by ghosts. The 2 supernatural ghost-like figures, Peter Quint and Miss Jessel, serve as the novel's primary antagonists. Duh. Both Quint and Jessel were once employees at Bly, Quint being a valet, and Jessel being a governess, but died prior to the arrival of the story's protagonist. The lingering presence of the deceased employees establishes the story's conflict, as it poses several unsettling questions in addition to disturbing the current governess, Miss Gross, and the reader, namely, how are the deceased employees appearing? What danger do they pose? What do they want? Furthermore, what is Quint and Jessel's connection to the children? Attempts to find answers to these questions comprise the novel's rising action. The relationship between the governess and the children deepens as the novel progresses. Movie title or French the governess is taken by the charm and apparent purity of her 2 charges, and the children are likewise fond of their governess. The appearances of Quint and Jessel pose a threat to this relationship. From the outset, it is clear to the governess that Quint and Jessel are primarily interested in connecting in some way with Miles and Flora. This drives a wedge between the governess and the children, as the ghost's influence has an obvious impact on them and their perception of the governess. Initially, the governess is not sure whether the children are aware of Quint and Jessel's presence. However, certain instances strengthen her belief that they are. Miles's expulsion is one of the novel's enduring mysteries, owing to the sharp contrast between the Miles we know and the Miles characterized in the school's letter, which we found out he was actually innocent. Such a contradiction causes the governess to suspect Quint must be behind the incident. The governess also witnesses the children staring out the window and walking the grounds late at night. These occurrences are clear signs to the governess that the children are aware of and potentially even communicating with their deceased caretakers, prompting a shift in her mindset. The governess becomes convinced that the children have already been corrupted by Quint and Jessel. It must be not merely protected but rescued. The issues at Bly are exacerbated by the governess's inability to reach out to her employer, the children's uncle, for help. Her only attempt to do so is intercepted by Miles, who steals a letter intended for his uncle, which we just read about, with only the partnership of Mrs. Gross, who can't see Quint or Jessel herself. The governess's mental stability appears to begin to slip, and her reliability as a narrator wavers. Very true. The governess's possible madness culminates in story's climax. Upon finding her dead predecessor at the lake with Flora, the governess begins to scream at the apparition and beg both Flora and Mrs. Gross to see her. Flora and Mrs. Gross's apparent inability to do so causes the governess to suffer a brief physical and mental collapse. This moment also prompts Flora to develop a sudden repulsion for the governess, saying cruel things both to and about her caretaker. The governess believes this turn to represent a full possession. That's interesting. Okay. A full possession of Flora by Miss Jessel. At the height of her unreliability, the governess encourages Mrs. Gross to take a suddenly ill Flora to her uncle for treatment. Left alone with Miles, the governess sees Peter Quint through a window and believes that Miles sees him too. She's sure that the reason Miles's heart stops is because the spirit of Quint has left him. And the dispossession has proven deadly. Whether this restores the governess's credibility remains to be seen, as it's not clear whether Miles did in fact see Quint or was merely shouting Quint's name. Assuming Quint wasn't really there and the governess is mad, one possible explanation for Miles's death is that the governess herself killed him. Perhaps via smothering, as foreshadowed by the aggressive smothering protection she has employed for the sake of the children throughout the story. The truth, however, remains elusive. Novel in an abrupt, ambiguous note, leaving the reader to draw their own conclusion. That's so interesting. Should have just read the spark notes from the start. Like, as a story, it's a good story. It's actually a really good story. We've had better writing. we've had better writing. I'm so sorry, Mr. James. We've had better writing. He was a man of never-ending sentences, I swear. I am glad that we just read the cliff notes, though. I'm sure he really cares. Okay. I know I can't compare every book to Frankenstein. It was so good. Yeah. Same good old Banshee. Oh. Sober with the 50 stream streak. Heck yeah. Heck yes. That's another book that we have gone through. That is another one. The next one might be, where's my little list? Thank you for the hydrate. Automatically went to Frankenstein. Like I said, Frankenstein's the book that, it's the pinnacle for the books that we've read on stream, the stories and everything that we've read on stream. This just popped up as the 50 stream streak that we're doing here. Yeah, we might read through The Looking Glass next, maybe, or Barbara Fleet Street, or Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I don't know. We have several options. Well, maybe Dracula. I don't know. I'll have to do a thinky and maybe poll you guys in the Discord. I don't know. The first book. I don't know why I've got the second book listed. we could do Alice. That would be kind of fun. Let me see. Who is around tonight, huh? Who is around tonight? No praise redeem. Aw. That could be a cute redeem. That could actually be a cute redeem. Excuse me. I need to rest my throat though, I gotta say. Well, I do have a good boy, good girl redeem. I do. I just don't have that redeem open for reading streams. Yeah, it is. It is. I wasn't thinking of that.